Hey everybody, welcome to How the Sausage is Made with Chris Cosentino, where I talk with chefs, restaurateurs, athletes, philanthropists, and pretty much anybody that inspires me. We look below the surface, behind the curtain, and dig deep into how these people got to where they are today. Wins, losses, and everything in between. All right, everybody. I am very excited here today to have Chef Amanda Shulman from Philadelphia, just a brand new recipient of a Michelin star. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I know you have a lot going on. You just opened a new restaurant just, a day, 3 days ago?
3 days ago. Today's day 3
And
after a pause. So
I have no idea why you would say yes to doing this after doing that. It's a lot of stuff going on. So thank you for taking time.
That's how I like it. I like the chaos. The busier, the better.
Busier, the better. So how did you get into this game? What was your starting point for wanting to be a chef?
I mean, I grew up in a big Jewish family. Everything is always centered around food. Every holiday, every weeknight. My mom was a really good cook. I became completely obsessed with helping her and cooking, and I would Google ingredients and recipes during history class and text her a grocery list, and would come home from field hockey practice and make beef bourguignon from Julia Child's book, and we'd eat at like 9:30 at night. So it was kind of something I was always interested in, but I didn't think I would end up being a chef. I went to study political science and journalism at UPenn, and I took a food writing class, and I ended up interviewing, ironically, Mark Vettry's dad, his late father, Sal, and the interview actually took place while we were making staff meal at his former restaurant, Amis. And I was so hooked that I started working at Amis the next week, and I begged them to let me come back, and I peeled potatoes for like a year and a half there, twice a week, and ended up working half the stations. And then I never left. And that was the beginning of it all.
I think that's actually a pretty amazing entry into the game because for a lot of folks that don't know, Mark Vettry's father, Sal, used to come and make staff meal at the restaurant on the regular.
Yep.
Absolutely. I was fortunate enough to have one of those staff meals when I came out to do Alex's lemonade stand one time, which was really quite lovely. So that's a great way to start the game. What a fun.
I had a nice cushion going in, knowing him.
So where did it go?
I was Sal's girl.
That's pretty rad. That's a pretty rad way to start. And where did it go from there? I mean, did you stay at Amis for multiple years? Did you stay within the Vettry group, or did you just kind of bounce?
Yeah, so I was a sophomore in college at that point, and I stayed at Amis. I was staging like on and off there for a year and a half. I got a job at a bakery while I was still in college, and I knew at that point that this was what I wanted to do. So I started like a dinner party side hustle during school, and I would make my Facebook statuses, 5 courses, $30. Message me if you want to come. And I was like a really aggressively focused student, so I could do other things. So as soon as I got the assignments, I would finish my homework, and then I would just spend the rest of my time cooking and entertaining. And it was like this whole ruse so I could practice cooking and teach myself how to make these meals. And I would use what I was learning at Amis and at the bakery, and then come home and make the focaccia and the semolina bread that I was helping with at work, and cut the potatoes exact so I could practice. And that kind of like gave me the bug for doing the whole picture, not just working a station or focusing on one specific dish. So after college, I graduated with no job, because you can't like promise a job to somebody in a restaurant, as you know. So that was a little scary to my parents and all my pre-professional friends going to JP Morgan. And I was like, I'll just work on Amis for free until they hire me or something opens up. And then Mark was like, why don't you come hang out at Vettry for an afternoon? And that was like the biggest deal to me, because that was the fanciest meal I had eaten at that point in my life. I remember I was so nervous to dine there. When I was a junior in college, I cried. I was like so excited. It was the magic and the allure of just like a true fine dining experience. It was like the temple for me. So I staged there. They offered me the job. I remember saying, "Are you sure?" in the basement, holding like what I thought was a 3rd pan, but was a 6th pan. And I started there the next day. And I remember I told this to Mark, I was so grateful that they had good internet in the basement, because I used to hide under the stairs and Google all the things that people would ask me for in terms of like pan shape and size.
My God, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I think that's somebody asked
Great,
me,
great Wi-Fi in the walk-ins there. Very useful.
somebody asked me one day, what do you think is the most important part of culinary school? And I said, equipment identification.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I would second that.
Because it is a completely obscure world that we work in, right? And the terms and the equipment and everything is just so lost to most folks.
Yeah, and you don't want to be a burden and be like, what's a hotel pan? What's a half pan? And I was like the youngest by far, the only girl on the hotline. I was like, I don't want to, I'll just figure it out. So thank you, internet in Vetri's basement.
That's so good. What did your parents think when you said, I'm not and I think this is important because like
Yeah.
people get really worked up about their parents have expectations for them. Not everybody's parents, but some parents do. And you go to college and you're studying a certain thing and then you make that shift. You like shift direction, which I think is great that you found what you really want to do. But from a parent's perspective, sometimes they're like, where are you going?
I mean, it was definitely, I was always kind of like the floater passion project child, but they were always supportive. They wanted me to do what I was excited about. And I'm super fortunate. They were always encouraging me to keep going and try new things. And sometimes, of course, I'm sure they were like, what the hell are you doing? When I showed up to Thanksgiving with like all these burns on my arms, I remember my mom looked at me and said, you're going to have to wear a long sleeve wedding dress. I was like, okay. But they have been unbelievable and always on my side. And I think my dad said to me, he's like, you know what? You can do whatever you want as long as you have like a skill to support yourself. That's what I want for you to be able to get from a career. And I was like, okay, great. Well, then I'm going to get really good at it and I'll do it. They're the best. Very lucky. They've eaten at every restaurant I ever worked at.
That's amazing. So what
Yeah.
you're at Vetri and what was that like as your first real job? Because I mean that's a really beautiful one. It's a beautiful space, wonderful kitchen, and also it has so much history and lore behind the space.
Yeah. And I'm a sucker for anything with a story. And I like the history and doing things the right way and the lengthy way. And it was incredible. It was my school and everybody there was my teacher. So I got super lucky because it wasn't just one mentor I had. Obviously, Mark has been in my life for a really long time, but it was every cook, all the sous chefs, everybody took me under their wing. And it was just like, there was no limit to everything I was able to absorb there. And, this was 11, 12 years ago. It wasn't like show up at 2:00 and go to work. I was there every day at 10:00 in the morning. I was there on my days off, training on the station that I wanted to work on next. It just felt like there was so much to take. We were milling the wheat for the bread and for the pasta, and then I could watch and help mill the wheat and then sift it and then make the dough and then roll the pasta and then serve the pasta. And it was like such a complete experience that I don't think I would have been nearly as successful or have gained the tools as quickly if I didn't spend my time there, because it was just like unlimited access to information and technique.
And that's the thing about Mark is he never closes the book on anybody. It's it's open and he shares everything.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I think that is having that open book mentality really creates such a hospitable, amazing environment that you have the full circle. Like you said, you got the grains in whole, you ground them, you sifted them, you produced bread, that's really a rarity in this industry to have from start zero.
Yeah. And it's just like, with increasing labor costs and things today, like that's not possible for most cooks to get that education. So I'm so grateful that I got to have it because I feel like I was really just had access to the whole curtain. Not to say like it was hard. It was long. We were there, the schedule, you'd get the schedule Sunday night and you're like, okay, I guess I'm working 12 days in a row. But I was obsessed. I was like so thirsty for it all. I couldn't get enough. And when you're in a place at the right moment in time and you're not thinking about what's next. That was me for like 2.5 years. I had blinders on. I didn't care about anything else. I wasn't like, where am I going? Where is this taking me? It was literally just like, go to work, grind, learn, and soak it in.
And every day is like what's next? New. Give it to me. Give me more. And I think
they did.
And that's the feeding frenzy of this business that we get so excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely addicting to just like keep climbing and keep taking and absorbing. And, these stations were hard. We didn't have middles. You're just like getting your ass absolutely handed to you on pasta station every night. And it's unbelievable. Most fun thing in the world. I loved it.
That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
like, sounds like, and it's funny because I would watch Mark from afar, being in San Francisco. Like I would watch from afar and be like, what is he doing now? What's next? What's going
Yeah.
on? So I can only imagine what it was like to be in the middle of it all. That's so
And he
amazing.
was always there and always like around too. And that's been like really inspiring as now somebody with multiple restaurants and just like knowing that the presence matters because it mattered to me as a line cook. So that was another lesson too.
That's amazing. So you were at Vetri for how many years?
2.5.
And
Two and a
then
half years. And then I said, I want to go to Italy and do my Eat, Pray, Love experience. Chef, help me out. So
that's so
he
funny.
called his best friend in Bergamo named Stefano Arrigoni, who has the restaurant Osteria della Brughiera. And I went and I lived there for 4 months with 2 other cooks, Robbie and Robbie, 2 Robbies, Roberto and Roberta, and cooked at this 1-star incredible restaurant in the suburbs of Milan for 4 months, 6 days a week, lunch and dinner. Yeah. It was awesome. It was very different than what I was expecting, though, and he kind of warned me about that. We were all like searching, like, I know this, but now I need to go to Italy and like feel it. The restaurant was amazing, and I learned so much because this was like the 3rd kitchen I'd really spent time in, but it was more just like being there and on my days off going to eat cassincelli, which I had been making for 2 years, and how now I was in like the home of where they make it, and I get to see like my boss's aunt, how she makes it. And I would take a train up to Parma and go to the Parmigiano factories. And that was like the full effect for me. The kitchen was great, but it was more being in Italy.
You were like completing that circle, like just taking it back
Yeah.
home. That must have
Did
been
have
amazing.
It was amazing. I did have a cool thing though. I was on the Stuzzichini station, which was like the snacks. And I was so bored. I was like, this is it. Like I came here to work this snack station, like like a little cocky. And the meat cook was the best cook I've ever worked with and I've ever seen in my entire life. She broke down so many fish, everything was perfect. She'd worked there for 15 years. Her name was Mina. She was from Japan. And I was obsessed with her. 2 weeks into my working there, she got a call that someone in her family was ill and she left the next day. She had worked there every single service for 15 years. We were just like all of a sudden understaffed. And my chef, who was like stepping in for a second, he like stepped off the line to grab something and was working meats. And I just jumped on the station. And then I ended up working the 2 stations for the rest of my time there, and running back and forth between the meat and fish station and the Stuzzichini station because they were like, oh, you can do it? I was like, yeah, like, please let me at it. So that was, sometimes you just got to take it. Even if nobody's offering, show somebody you can do it. And maybe you can, right place, right time,
Wow.
right grab.
That's amazing.
It was awesome.
That's such a fun experience. And I think you just said something there. It's like, even though they're not offering it, show the effort to go get it.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way across. Doesn't matter if you're in Europe, wherever you are, that is a game-changing thing right there.
100%. If you don't ask, you don't get. But if you're not in the room when something's happening and the opportunity pops up, somebody doesn't show up and it's your time to shine and you're the one who offers, like, got to put your foot in the ring. Initiative
goes a long way.
Yeah. Big initiative taker. That's a big.
Number 1, initiative. I think that's the most important.
Absolutely. That means so much more from all of our cooks now. Like anybody that shows up to like learn how to roll pasta on their day off or something, I'm just like, I take note. I love that. That's awesome.
It's a powerful tool. The want to learn is amazing. And the more you want to learn, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
So you're doing your time in Italy and like, did you want to come home or did you want to stay?
I was ready to come home. I had like done everything to try and get a visa. I was like applying to like grad school programs and I was doing the whole thing to try and make it work. And I was like, okay, I've now see that I can learn as much in a kitchen at home as I can here, which was kind of like a missing link I needed to be. And I was ready to come home and see what was next. But Fetri comes back into the picture again. He came to eat at the restaurant that I was working at, and he sits me down after dinner and he's like, will you move to Las Vegas in a year and a half and open a Vetri there? And I was like, sure, great, let's go. So that was kind of like my next step far into the future. So I moved to New York in the meantime. Should I just keep going?
Sure.
I feel
Go
like
for it.
I was like, am I talking too much?
No,
But
this
guess
is
it's a
about you.
podcast.
It's not about me.
I moved to New York. I staged at 11 restaurants, and I was like, I have to pick something different than Italian food before I go cook Italian food. I need a break from pasta. So I staged Le Cuckoo, King, Stone Barns, Romans. What was that place? A bunch of other places. And I ended up at Co because I was like, okay, this is the most different place I could ever imagine. And it's really intense and not what I'm used to. So like, let's give it a shot. It was fate, obviously, because I ended up meeting my husband there, Alex. So, but it was a big eye opener into New York cooking in general and the whole standard New York Michelin situation. Co was awesome. Actually, I take that back. Co was a really good learning experience, and I made some lifelong friends, and obviously my husband. But that was like a shock to the system.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said about staging at all these different places and trying to see different opportunities, different styles, techniques, the way different restaurants run, I think is really important, right? Because if you stay in the same path, you grow, but you don't grow broadly. And I think growing broadly is a lot more important than being with blinders.
Totally. You like get to a point where you see a meat scrap and the only thing I can think of is to like make a ragu or a filling. I was like, okay, I have to just break out of what I'm doing right now because I only know how to cook this food. And I feel like I can get much more perspective doing something else in a different style of kitchen.
Yeah. And when you were at Co, who was chef there? Was that Sean?
Sean. And Sean's great and awesome
Yeah.
and a really cool person to work with.
Yeah.
And he's crushing it right now.
He's a brilliant technician.
Yeah. It was just really cool to
technician.
see how his mind and brain worked, even with like sauce work. And he always put raw shallots in at the end of a sauce and just a very thoughtful cook.
That must have been great.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I got to work side by side with him a lot because Alex and I were the opening cooks for the bar side of Co.
That's crazy. That's what a total polar opposite from where you came from. But I think that's a shock to the system, and being uncomfortable creates that massive learning moment again, right?
Oh my God, so much learning and just like a totally different style of like priorities in a place like that where it's like it was the cleanest kitchen. We cleaned all the time and it was like stunning and beautiful, and it was just a different level of organization and systemization that I was not used to. So it was really good discipline on how to just be tidy and clean, and you are always on display. So that definitely like fixed my messy habits for sure. But I remember like being in the fridge and they're like, grab the dark soy, and I just go inside and I'm like, I can't read any of these bottles. I don't even know what dark soy tastes like. I'm in the walk-in for like 10 minutes trying to figure out, like pour things like into a before, just ask for help. Moral of the story, just ask.
But that's like, I think we've all been there. We've all had those moments where it's like, what am I doing, or what is this? And I think just owning it is just, it's life. It's part of the growth pattern of being in a restaurant because the ingredients are so unique. I think that's just an amazing. I mean, the fact that you went to Italy, I don't know if you speak Italian or not. I assumed
I did at the time.
You're lucky, because I wish I spoke another language. I don't. But being able to go to another country and work, that in itself is hard. But then being in like all these new ingredients, all this new terminology, you're just getting bombarded constantly. And it's like, holy crap, what's next?
Yeah.
I thought I was just cooking.
I know. It was like, and that was an interesting thing too. Like it wasn't about the cooking. There was like some techniques I picked up on that were puff pastry. I made like 10 batches of puff by hand a week for 3 months straight. And I didn't end up at Co long. I was there for 4.5, 5 months. It just wasn't a great fit. And I went somewhere else before I moved to Vegas. But I took a lot out of just being there and learning in the organization again. But yeah, being in an environment where you don't know. I'm an I don't know person besides the dark soy and the whatever thing I mentioned at the beginning. It's like I'm always the person where I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Can you show me? And I would rather, like, there's no harm in not knowing. Like, it's who wants to be the person that like pretends they know everything? It's just exhausting. But also, like, you end up looking silly. Like, it's so much easier to just be honest and admit, like, there's so much strength in leadership and being the person who says, I don't know, let's learn together. Or, I don't know, let me look this up or I'll ask that person. So that was something that I also feel like was hammered home for me there.
Yeah, putting ego aside makes better, stronger cooks.
And better food.
Yeah, because it's just less fake. That fake it till you make it thing doesn't really work. It doesn't work.
No,
It doesn't work
for
in this
only
business.
so long. Yeah.
And just, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for hours.
I mean, you got to fake it a little sometimes. You got to fake it a little, but it's like there's a line. There's a line for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Confidence versus like admitting you don't know something.
Yeah, for sure. So what, you leave Co, you know what's coming down the road. Where's next?
I went to Roman's in Fort Greene, Brooklyn for, it was supposed to be like 6 months, but Vetri Vegas was like the only restaurant in the history of the world that opened early or on time. And I went to Roman's and it was so rejuvenating and just, it was like one of those moments in times where you have the right crew and the right people and everyone's meshing and everyone was just a really good cook. No one needed to be like instructed or babied. It was like me and 4 friends meeting, deciding what we were going to cook that day and then just making it. And they got the best produce in the city, delivered fresh every single day, something different. We changed the menu every day. And it was just like so awesome. Sit down, 11:30, we're going to make this. And we're just like banging it out. I was on the wood oven, threw me on my first service on a Friday night. Like, okay, I've never done this before. Let's go. I fucked up like a $200 steak and I was like, okay, never again. This is really hot. Now I know. But that restaurant is just incredible. Every neighborhood needs a Roman's.
Wow. Those are those magic kitchen moments, right? That like you just talked about. It's like there's just the flow. Everybody's in the flow. There's nobody's talking. You're just like during service, you're just dancing. It's like a ballet. It's so perfect. Those are special moments.
Those iconic things where it all comes together, the strings, everything's aligned and like we were all the same age. And like I'm still friends with these guys now. One of them has 2 restaurants in Portland, Oregon. Another's a private chef in New York. And it's just like so cool that we were all together at that time.
That's awesome. So are you heading to Vetri at this point? Is it on time for a change of restaurant opening?
It was on time. And Mark's like, I need you to move to Vegas next month. I was like, oh, okay. So I got somebody to take over my lease to an apartment. I moved into the Hard Rock Hotel for 10 days while I figured out where I was going to live. I just brought a big suitcase to Vegas and just started my life there. And it was my first management job and my first time opening a restaurant. So lots to learn there. And besides being sous chef, my job was also to like run the bread program. And I'd done some bread, but Las Vegas, like the climate was so unusual to me. And I had it was like starting from scratch and learning how to play science. And I made probably 200 terrible loaves of bread before we opened that were like wooden clogs, playing with the hydration and then I figured it out.
I mean, it's the most arid desert to cook in. It totally screws with everything. Pasta hydration, all of it.
Everything
is different. And it's just like elevation, right? It's going to change the way things work. But man, it's a hard place to make changes. But
you know what? That made it like a challenge to like take something I knew and then actually understand why. So it's like before I was just following a recipe.
Yeah.
But now I was like taking notes, 10 glass grams of water, this much. And then I got to understand what was actually happening because I had to strip it down and learn instead of just 40 grams like a robot.
That's a really good point. I think,
Yeah,
do you still have that notebook? I think those are those great moments where
I hope so.
you have all that stuff and it's like,
Yeah,
it was raining today or it was 110 degrees outside. AC was this. And
yeah,
you have all of that breakdown to give you the true answers of what was happening during your process. That's
yeah. It was pretty cool.
so opening a vetri that's such a unique space because I don't know if you remember, we met there.
Yeah,
And what a cool space to be at the tippy top.
so cool.
Beautiful view, beautiful room. And it was the art up the back stairway, like all of it.
It was
It was crazy.
it was like and the kitchen was like a Cadillac. Like it was so,
Yeah.
I was like so cool and new and shiny and so much space, and it was awesome. But it was like a really big wake up call in just like how management works. It was a very different style of restaurant. You're working with career line cooks, not like 22-year-olds who are trying to climb the career ladder. And I learned a lot. I was the youngest by far. I definitely got put in my place by some line cooks that told me how I should be doing things. And it was really eye-opening. And I uh, took a lot away from that and how to manage people.
Was that a union house?
We were exempt because we were employees of the veterinary company, not the hotel.
So even all the staff that you had was
Not union.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were
So
lucky.
We were lucky. So that was great. And we had an unbelievable team. Best line cooks I've ever worked with.
Those,
Like,
yeah.
throw it down.
Those guys out there there's some magic cooks out there.
Yeah, I still talk to my prep cook who I was like my bread right hand. I was in Vegas a couple months ago and we met up so I could introduce her to my baby. There's like some really incredible people that I met through working there.
That's amazing. And what was that experience like? Being in such a unique space and that environment is so different, right? Because
So different.
you're an amenity to
Yeah.
the casino. And I think a lot of folks who go to Vegas don't realize there are people who go just to Vegas to dine, right?
Yeah.
Now, but people don't realize that it's an amenity to the hotel. Yes, it has to be profitable, but it is a full-blown amenity to bring people to the hotel to gamble.
It was a really interesting experience because obviously I worked at all these like little tiny jewel box restaurants that people like wait so long to get into and like plan their trips around. And this was the exact opposite, as you're saying. But I feel like every job I've taken was for a reason. And I had that reason in my mind. And I was like, okay, I need to learn. I need to break my way into management. And at least I know how to cook this food with my eyes closed. And I need to really wrap my head around bread. And that was what I was getting out of it. And I wanted to be part of an opening. And I had two friends. We moved there together. Some of our team from Vetri, we all moved together. My former sous chef at Vetri, we did it together. And the host of Vetri ended up working as a server. So I had a little crew, but I was super focused. It wasn't like I was doing this just because it sounded like a good opportunity. I knew exactly what I wanted out of it. And I was also in a long distance relationship with Alex, who was going every 2 days off from Vegas to New York. And then we were doing Vegas to Montreal. So it was like a crazy time, but it was really fun.
Wow. And were you learning P&Ls and things when you were there? Was that part of your workload?
Yep. I got to learn how to do that.
How was that from a hotel perspective? Because I know that
everything feels like fake.
Yeah.
Like I had never really seen numbers before. So like numbers just like, it didn't really mean anything to me yet. But it was like, you're super busy there for convention season and then things die down. It's just so much variation. So it was cool to see that. But I don't feel like it really like clicked for me, the numbers there. But it was the first time I was exposed to them and seeing targets of like 35% labor and under and this and this. I started really like looking at invoices and seeing how much celery costs and chicken bones cost. And so it was definitely like, okay, start clocking into this too.
Yeah, that's a whole new world in Vegas. And it's different because the buying power that they have there comparative to what your buying power is in the Jewel Box in New York or Philly. The percentages are drastically different.
Yeah, drastic. Very different.
That's why people don't understand those variations.
Yeah.
So what's next? I mean, you're there in Vetri in Vegas for how long?
10 months. 10 months. My contract was like 6 months, and then I extended a little bit. And Marco from Joe Beef, we did a cookbook dinner for them in Vegas. And that's where we met. We had met one other time when I went to visit Montreal, and Alex was working at Michelin with him. So him and I were friendly, and I executed the dinner. I was like the right-hand person because I was obviously obsessed with anything Joe Beef. And then we worked together, and he was like, "Do you want to come work for us?" And I was like, "Yes, great." Alex and I were obviously looking to be reunited, and I picked up from Vegas in May and moved right to
As a chef, I'm always asked the same question. What's your secret to making a restaurant quality dish at home? It's not just the ingredients, it's how you bring them to life, and it starts with the right tools. Heston's ProBond professional clad cookware collection will give you control, consistency, and confidence. It's cookware that makes you want to cook more. Check it out at hestonculinary.com and use my promo code COOKWITHCHRIS for 10% off your first order.
Montreal.
Wow. So you get to work with Marco and Vanya. That's amazing.
Marco, Vanya, I went at a really interesting time too. It was like the first 6 months was Marco's last 6 months. And then I got to work really closely with Fred for like the remainder of my time. We did all the mornings together. It was amazing. I had the most incredible experience there. And I loved that restaurant.
That's a very special restaurant. I love
very,
Marco.
very special.
I love those guys, and to see them go off on their own and do their own thing and just have their own point of view is really, really special. It's an amazing restaurant. So what a great experience.
He's like the most talented cook, and just watching him. I had like a lot of pieces at this point that I felt like I was gathering, but like most of it was like Mark's food, right? And I went to Joe Beef because I was like, okay, I know how to cook already. I'm not nervous about like setting up a station. I just need to learn something else. And French food was like the eye opener of like it all clicked. And watching Marco, like that's how I learned how to plate. He's so delicate, and he's just like the way he sees things, like it all kind of like made sense for me then. But I don't think I would have gotten as much out of it if I went there earlier in my career, because I just like was way less stressed out because I had been around enough. And I will advocate for people who take a step down. I was the sous chef or exec, whatever I was, and then stepped down. I was a line cook, and then ended up doing like some sous chef things there. But like, who cares about titles? Like, it doesn't matter. Just put yourself in a spot where you can totally learn at the right time. And it was really instrumental in what I cook today.
That's amazing. I so many fond memories of, eating meals with those guys and being in that restaurant and hanging out with them. That's amazing. Yeah. Like I would love the opportunity just to cook with him on the regular. It was
awesome.
So
the
cool.
ideas going back and forth, and like we were together, and then we're texting, and then it's just like everyone's talking about food all the time, and like the whole city feels that way. And there's like this thread of commonality that you kind of see at all the restaurants, and just like the generosity, the over the top, the just like no pretense. Montreal was really impactful on the way I cook and just how I want to be approached as a restaurant.
The hospitality from Montreal, I think, is the thing that sets it apart from everywhere else. Like, it's just the embracing of the guest, the love of the craft, and the camaraderie within the community is massive, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing like it. There really isn't. I mean, it truly is one of my favorite. It is probably my favorite place to go and eat.
I agree. And like Alex had tried to like tell me about it, but you don't really understand it unless you like really spend some time there. And it was just, we have like all of our restaurants, we want them to have that like spirit of just like, let us take care of you, like whatever it takes, all the little touches, but like not too overthought and still cool. So yeah, very, very cool place.
So
and it's a career, and everyone there takes it so seriously.
Whether they're front or back. Whether they're front or back. Yeah.
Everybody takes it seriously, and I really admire that.
I joke around with people. I was like, Montreal is like going to France, where everybody still speaks English.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, that's kind of a weird way to say it. I was like, no, it's true.
It does feel much further away than
It
an
does.
hour flight.
Yeah.
I loved living there. I would definitely move back one day.
So you're in Montreal, and this is like massive absorb time for you.
Yeah.
How long was that stint there?
Just under a year, and then COVID hit. My visa was a year. My visa was about to expire. We were on lockdown. They closed the restaurants. I'm literally driving over the border. Fred calls me. He's like, will you come make pâtés today and we'll sell them by the slice? I was like, I'm literally just crossed the U.S. border. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm going to get kicked out of here. It was like a Lifetime movie. Alex and I were like, bye, see you when? Like, I don't know. And then I went to my parents' house and did some like catering out of a kitchen I rented from this little nature reserve. And I just like regrouped for a couple of months. And then I said, okay, I'm going to open a restaurant now and I'm going to move back to Philadelphia. And I was looking at spaces in New York originally. They just didn't seem right. The price tag was too expensive to the point where I was like, this isn't fun. Like, this just feels like 35 grand staring me in the face before I turn the lights on and hire anybody just for like rent and property taxes. Like, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I'm about. So Philly was the place I know and love. And it just felt easier to take a risk. And my bones kind of were there anyways. So I moved here and I looked for a space for a while. I did a little bit of private chefing and some pop-ups. And I finally found one. And it was like, okay, I'll do this for 3 months. I'll turn this place around. The landlord gave me a 3-month lease and bought me an oven and a line fridge. And I was going to make picnic baskets and sell them for people to take to Rittenhouse Park because you couldn't even eat inside. It was like still that moment in COVID. And then the week before we opened, I painted the whole place. I did the health. I did everything myself with my friend Steven. It was paint, and I was handy all of a sudden, standing on ladders and like digging out this, I don't even know, from the hood to make it acceptable. And then they're like, no restrictions, you can eat inside. And I said, that's so much easier. Like, I'll just invite 16 people for dinner. And then we were like open. And that was it. That was 4.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm still there. So
your 3-month lease has turned into...
Yeah, it'll be 5 years in June.
Wow.
It was 3 months. I extended and I was still looking for another place. And I was like, I'll find it eventually. And then January, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just here. Like, I guess this is the restaurant. And here we are.
That's a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, it came together in like $15,000 in 3 weeks. Yeah, it was just like a play. And, after 6 months, I could afford a renovation and we did floors and changed the paint color and like made it cute. But it's
like
really been like
fairy
project.
Tale. It's a fairy tale.
Literally, and we have the same people coming from day one. It feels like a lot of people are involved in this project.
Wow. That's really cool. That's a really cool, like, talk about just creation out of adversity, right? Like, and I think it's so amazing. That's just really powerful.
And it was just me cooking for like 6 months. And it's the same format that it's been since day one. This is what I'm making today. There's a couple of additions. Flat price, extra for add-ons. We didn't have alcohol for the first year. And then we got a liquor license and I would go every day at 8 a.m., prep everything, make everything, work service, and then do it again. And it started as 3 days. Then I went to 4 days. Then I hired a prep cook and slowly, it started to like become a big, nothing big, never big. We have like 13 people now. It's just this magical little world where we have the ability to just do whatever we want. And that's what it is. It's awesome. It feels so special to just cook what we're excited about and change it when we want to. We change the menu every 3 weeks, front to back. We have a 100-bottle wine list, wine pairings, a couple of cocktails. Crazy.
You created the dream restaurant.
I made the dream restaurant where I feel like this is what I would have wanted in 30 years.
I mean,
and I got to start with it.
Yeah, you really did. You created the dream restaurant, the one that every chef says, I just want a place where I can do what I want. This is what it is. If you like it, great. If you don't, lump it,
and it's magic, you know?
I feel like if you start that way and are just like really transparent about what you're doing and you don't really give much room and just kind of hold firm to what you want to do, then there's not much wiggle room. But also, I always say, like, I dream way too big. I am like, my ideas are, but I also have realized that her place was like, dream big, but think small. Like, everyone, when they think about opening a restaurant, they envision the second restaurant. I'm like, you got to just like give yourself the opportunity to figure it out. And I was lucky enough to stumble into it somehow. And now I just like have the greatest team ever. And I have found people who figure it out with me.
It's interesting because, you know, when you have a restaurant like that, or any restaurant, I think there's a growth pattern within your restaurant where it comes into a form of maturity. It's like having a child, right? When they need to be completely taken care of, nurtured every step of the way for the first certain amount of time. And then they start to talk, and then they start to walk, and then they can start to do things on their own. Restaurants are the same thing as a child. And I think it's evolved, like you just explained, and the involvement didn't go far away from what you originally started it with. And I think that's where you had a vision that stayed true through the whole way, but you let it grow naturally with your team and build your team to the way that you wanted that feeling to be. And I think that's really special.
Yeah. And the whole idea was it was just mimicking the dinner parties that I side hustled during my line cook years.
I love that.
Because I liked the format and I liked being able to make everything. And it's like the quality control of like being able to plate everything and look at it all. And there's a lot of things that I didn't think of when I was doing it that I'm like, oh, I look at it now that I'm a little more removed. And I'm like, oh, this is actually really smart. Like, we can control exactly the amount of portions. Like, we have very minimal waste. There's certain items we just can't cook. It doesn't work for the format. The kitchen's also like this big. We have one oven, a fryer. It's very bare bones, but limitations are great. And everybody needs to lean into the limitations, I
Less
believe,
is more.
because less is more and you work with what you got.
You don't need all the bells and whistles to make great food.
No, you don't. Sometimes I want them. I would love a rationale. That sounds great. I get very jealous of Milo and the rationale or like the walk-in. And then I look around, I'm like, this is so simple. This is like so uncomplicated. This is exactly what it is. And there's something like so incredibly beautiful about the predictability and like having the ability to just control as many variables as you can in such an uncontrollable industry.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think you look at that rationale and you want it, but the moment it doesn't work is the day you'll be really glad you don't have it.
I know. I couldn't agree more. And, like, I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop and be like, okay, like, how do I make this cool again? Or like, how do I have to change this up? And I'm prepared for that. And that's another thing Mark's taught me. He's like, never get stuck in the ways. Like, you have to keep evolving. And it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but also be ahead of the curve. But also, like, it's a lot of just kind of see what the climate is asking for and like what you're excited about. Because also, like, if you're excited about it, chances are like it will be better.
Yeah. And everybody else gets excited. So when you're excited about things and you're exuding that energy and that excitement, your team gets excited, and then your guests get excited because they know it's coming from you. And I think that's a really important thing. And, that saying, like you just said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. There are certain things that work that way, but we also evolve.
Yeah.
Right. And we refine and we get better as we get older, and we learn new techniques and we implement new techniques or different flavor profiles. It doesn't mean we're changing what we are. We're just utilizing things in different ways. And I think that's just the nature of the game. Like, it's growth.
Absolutely.
It's
It
growth.
is growth. But
We-
growth can be like explained in so many different ways. We're running a salad that I ran the first year we opened, the citrus salad with tête de noix. It's so simple, but it's just delicious. But now we got these new plates, and it feels like an entirely different experience on this plate. And now not only do you have a new plate, but we have a wine pairing, and it's matching this perfect plate and the orange. And it's just like every year is growth. And if you would have told me, first of all, I'd be in this space 5 years later, I would have not believed you for a second. But the fact that we have liquor, a wine pairing, fucking Michelin star. Like, this is like, it's hilarious that this has just been like just grinding with no goal in sight except to just keep going and make it better.
Your goal in sight has been make delicious food.
Make delicious food and like be into it.
And that's all that we can ever ask to be. I mean,
Yeah.
we feed people for a living. We give taste memories. It's a really cool job to have.
It is.
You know, no zeros and ones. We're not pulling teeth. We're not collecting tolls. Occasionally, we, unclog toilets and paint walls and fix refrigeration, but that's a different out of necessity.
I like go back and forth between like sometimes I'm like, we're just cooking dinner. Like it's not that deep. Like people come in and they're doctors and they're like, thank you so much. I'm like, thank me. Like, what about you? I'm not doing anything. But then I'm like, this is slighting what we are doing because so many of my favorite memories are at a restaurant or around the table and eating something. So like, I don't want to take away from the power of what this means to somebody. So I think it's like that balance of not taking what you're doing too seriously, but also really taking it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, people celebrate. I mean, there are moments in people's lives that they'll come back and say, I'll never forget that meal I had.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
so cool.
That's a really cool experience. It hits home,
It does.
People really, really look back at those special moments. And, sure you get them. People walk down the street and they'll say, oh, I remember this dish that I had when I was, or you'll have somebody. Me personally, I now have people who were kids who are now adults that talk about dishes and how it changed the way they ate because they came with their parents. Like that to me and those are moments.
For my 13th birthday, I asked to go to Babbo.
Wow.
And I still remember both dishes I ordered and it stuck with me. It was like the coolest thing I got to do as a 13-year-old. And I'll never forget eating the balsamic steak and the beef cheek ravioli.
Yeah. Those are powerful, right? Like,
yeah.
There are moments, and like you said, we don't want to take what we do for granted because yes, we're not curing cancer, right? We're not saving lives, but it's just as important. We're nourishing people. You're
nourishing people and you're the backdrop to all these special moments.
Yeah.
And like, it can be easy to forget. And we have these guest books that people sign and then you read them and I try and read them and remind myself, it just like clicks in a little bit. It's just like, wow, this is so cool that people celebrated their 50th anniversary here.
Yeah.
And like, this is where they choose to came. And we sing happy birthday. We are a happy birthday restaurant. My top Spotify song is myself singing fucking happy birthday. And I love it. I love it. I love being the birthday restaurant. I feel so lucky that we are where you want to come for your birthday. That's like
so
awesome.
Cool.
It's like so cool.
That's really cool. So you have, and I'm sure you saw that I put this out there. You and Alex are very unique and you have his and hers restaurants.
Yes, we do.
And I think that's fucking awesome that you do that. But yet at the same time, you have his and hers restaurants. You are the most supportive of each other. And I think how is the next step from, well, you're now married. You now have a almost 1-year-old. Crazy. What was the next step from the opening to where you are now with this restaurant to then getting this next process of, Alex opening his, and then now you have another restaurant that you just opened 2 days ago, which is crazy to me.
I know. So crazy. Okay. Big question. I'm going to try and tackle the pits I can. I mean, Alex is like the most talented chef I've ever met. He is such a good cook. He's such a good leader. And like, I can say that back in our co-days when I was not loving life there, he would come in, buy coffees for the whole team and like, come on guys, we're going to have like, just like the perky guy. Like, and that's probably why I fell in love with him initially, was because he was just like, he's like the glue guy. He will poke fun at you for sure, but he is just like the one that is making everybody work towards the win. And he is such a good coach to his cooks at Milo. And like, I love seeing it. So we always knew we were going to have restaurants together, each our own. We do everything together. We're like the most together of any two together people. We work out together. We wake up together. We are like side by side 22 hours a day. Opening Milo was amazing because it's definitely his vision realized, and I got to support. I do the pastry there. And when we opened the restaurant, we designed the whole thing together. But like, it's his show over there. I was much more involved in like the back end thing and just like helping execute what he always wanted. And I love being a part of it, and I love being part of the team there. And he worked at her place for like 6 months. It was just him and I on the line. So like everything we've done has just been this common thread of like, even if one of us isn't there, I'm like, oh, it's just this is mine, yours, but also it's all both of us. So Pine Street's been a really cool, awesome opportunity where we're both kind of, he's more in the kitchen. I'm more making sure everything just works and functions. And we like know our roles and our lanes now. But it's also really helpful having us both be chefs and having two minds to work on one thing. Sometimes it's a downfall. Like I wish I didn't like cooking so much and I could learn about wine more and do the dining room. Like I really think that's would be probably better for the business and make a little more sense down the line, but that'll never happen. But it's just really fun working as a team and doing it together and getting to bring each of our skills to each project that we do. Did that answer the question at all?
It did 100%. And I think
Okay,
that's really great.
I lost the plot along the
No,
way.
you did not. You did not lose the plot at all. I think it's really, it's pretty amazing, that you guys are able to do that. Not a lot of people are able to do what you two are doing. And it's really awesome.
But it's just like there's no one else I'd want to do this with. And when my brain doesn't make sense and I need help coming up with like, why doesn't this taste like this? Or I'll call him to can you come fix this in my head? Like, why does this sauce? And he's always there. And he's been cooking for so long. So he's a great resource.
He's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, especially in a pair of jorts, right?
I wasn't going to say it. You could say it. You get to see him in jorts whenever you want.
No, I don't think I think he retired the jorts after showing up in San Francisco, but I've heard the story so many times, and jorts and the tomato that tastes like the tomato at the market always makes the cut.
Oh my God, he's man. When I saw him at Mont Lapine after I hadn't seen him in so long, it was like the biggest highlight for me to walk in the kitchen and see him in there, and I was just like so stoked because I hadn't seen him in so long. It's so great to see you guys both just crushing it. It's really it's really amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
What is your thought on social media versus real life? Because I know we all have our worlds of it. I mean, we're all doing it. I mean, it's a marketing tool. It's a nightmare. It's all.
I cannot believe Instagram is free and you have to take advantage of it. And I truly believe, and I will wholeheartedly admit, a big jump. Her place got a lot of attention and a big jump because of Instagram. Like I don't know if algorithm or whatever was on our side when we first started, but like I was sharing the story of like, oh, I'm so tired. I forgot to turn off the sinks downstairs and I ran to get parsley and I came back and there were 2 feet of water in the basement. Here's a video of me mopping the basement and figuring out what to do. It was instrumental in like building the audience to be a part of the restaurant. And I think it is an incredible tool that is a pain in the ass. And I ran the socials for all the restaurants and it's like the voice and the vibe and it's a job. For sure. But I mean, the reach is incredible. And I've been able to connect with people in like a non-creepy way. And it's just ideas flowing constantly. Like, oh, look how they cut this. And, sometimes it definitely feels like it's hard to have an original thought where you're like, wow, I just had this idea. And you're like, no, I didn't. I saw that on something 3 weeks ago when I was scrolling at 2:00 in the morning. But you got it. It's a tool. It's a tool that is important, but annoying.
Yeah.
And not real at the same time.
It's very true. It has its positives and negatives, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like to show like just like in the moment. Here we are on the line doing this. Look, she's cooking scallops. Like you just like the real stuff. Maybe it's just because I also don't know how to edit a video. So that's probably part of it. So we're real organic content people.
What has been your worst professional mistake?
Oof. Being too trustworthy. I am a giver of like pieces of me and what I build sometimes, especially in the beginning. And I definitely need to guard things a little closer. And that's just like something I've been learning over time. I'm always like, oh, they're going to help, or like you're in it for all the right reasons, or like we're all on the same team with the same goal. And sometimes you just need to keep things a little closer to your chest and go slowly. That sounds so ominous, but just like
No, I mean,
too trusting with things that are really precious and special. I don't need to give away everything. Like this is like every dollar I have, every hour of my life and career leading up to it is in these 3 restaurants. Like I have to like protect them.
do you have any regrets? And if so, would you change them?
No, who has time for regrets? If you're thinking about regrets, like that is so exhausting. Of course, I've fucked up so many times, but you got to move on.
What has been your most memorable meal?
Ooh, probably my first meal at Vetri, actually, with my 2 friends in college, because it was like such a turning point of like, I didn't even know food could be this theatrical and special and magical and warm. And it was the first time I noticed like a restaurant environment besides the food, that the food was phenomenal, but forget the food. The wine service and the pouring, and they Ubered us home back to campus. It was all these little touches that was so, it drove home the idea of just like hospitality in general and a complete experience. That's the theme of this month, completion. My yoga teacher just said that this morning.
Do you have a must-do, something that you feel every cook kind of takes for granted, but should do? Like, what is that important out-of-work thing that they need to do?
You need to stage and you need to get in kitchens. It can be a day, it can be 3 weeks. You learn so much if you are looking around, but also only workplaces where you find someone that's going to teach you something. Everyone can teach you something, but you need to make sure it's a right place where someone's going to be open to taking you under their wing. And it's good to be the worst one. Always, I wanted to take jobs where I was always the worst one. I wanted to like be surrounded by people who were cutthroat and like were going to kick my ass on the line so I could learn how to beat them. I'm very competitive, clearly. But you have to be in an environment where you have a mentor. But that can be anybody in the restaurant. Everyone can be a mentor. It just has to be a teaching kitchen.
What won't you eat?
Not like a big kidney girl. I think Alex probably said the same thing.
I mean, they're not for everybody.
Not for me.
If you could sit and have dinner with anyone, with us or gone, who would it be?
My grandma Barbara, who passed a couple years ago. She was like my everything, my total role model, the most fabulous person to ever exist on planet Earth, with a big glass of red wine. That was her favorite.
What has been your biggest culinary flop?
There's not enough time. I did a tomato cobbler one of like the early days. That was like a really good idea in theory, but it just didn't come together. It was like too sweet, and the cheese curds I used like weren't melty. They like were like just like firm little plops. And then this was painful. I was doing a smoked cream of mushroom soup en croûte, and I make all the puff by hand because I'm annoying. And this was like back in the early days, like there was nothing to spare. My oven rack fell during service and all the en croûtes tilted, and I had to like rebuild them, and they were just not right. And I was like, okay, everybody, because I talked to the dining room during service. I'm like, I just dropped all of your soups. I'm so sorry. They're going to look a little fucked up. So that was a bad one.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, that also makes it pretty personal. At least you're honest about it. Like,
yeah, what are you going to do?
It's like, oh my God, that's hysterical. Do you have a favorite cookbook?
Yes. There's too many. I have like, I like to read cookbooks. I love reading cookbooks. Alpine Cooking by Meredith Erickson is like one of my favorites because I love the recipes, but her writing's incredible, and it's story, geography. Prune is like, I'm a Gabrielle girl.
What's your must-have tool? Your must-have kitchen tool?
I'm drawing a blank. I'm like thinking about, I was on the line last night. I was like, what do I use? I'm so tired, Chris. I remember.
Know. It's okay. It's okay.
Is a spoon a stupid answer?
No.
I'm not a knife girl. Spoon. Sure. My hands.
Spoons are great. I mean,
My hands.
What makes you happy as a chef?
What makes me seeing everything come together in that moment when you're like can't figure out a dish and everyone's tasting it and everyone's like not it could need this and then you replate it and everyone's like it's like that you like know when it's there because we do a lot of testing for each menu and like we take a lot of opinions, we got a lot of voices, this over there, this, and then you just like know when it's right and it's like that moment when you nail a dish and you're like yes.
All right, are you ready for some quick fires?
Let's go.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Espresso or drip?
Drip.
Milk or no milk?
No milk.
Pancakes, waffles?
Neither.
Oatmeal, yogurt?
Only Arthur's in Montreal's pancakes. Oatmeal or yogurt? Neither.
Bacon or sausage?
Bacon.
Chicken or duck?
Chicken.
Beef or pork?
I hate this one. Pork.
Quail or squab?
Quail.
Hot dog, hamburger?
Hot dog.
Ketchup, mustard?
Mustard. Dijon.
French fries, onion rings?
Onion rings.
Taco, burrito?
Taco.
Pasta, noodles?
Noodles.
Ravioli, dumplings?
Dumplings.
Raw oysters, raw clams?
Raw oysters.
Lobster, crab?
Lobster.
Sea urchin, caviar?
Caviar.
Black truffles, white truffles?
White truffles.
Meatballs, sausage?
Sausage.
Favorite pizza style?
I like all styles. Napoli.
Are you a dessert or a cheese person?
Both. Whatever's like aged, and I want aged and runny and smelly, and then I want a chocolate cake.
Ice cream, soft serve, gelato, or sorbet?
Soft serve.
Cup or a cone?
Cone.
Styrofoam or sugar?
Sugar.
Do you like chocolate or do you prefer fruit?
Chocolate.
Bittersweet or milk?
Bittersweet.
Honey or maple syrup?
Maple syrup.
Red wine, white wine?
White wine.
Light beer, dark beer?
Light beer.
White spirits, dark spirits?
No spirits.
Champagne, Prosecco, Cava, Lambrusco?
Brusco. Lammy B. Favorite.
Favorite candy?
Sour Patch Kids. Anything so sour, I want my face to fall off. Like drink the citric acid at the bottom of the bag. And Whoppers.
Whoppers, I haven't heard
And
that one.
frozen gummy bears.
Frozen gummy bears.
You like used to go into her place and open the freezer and there'd be a third pan of frozen gummy bears that I just keep in there. Like my stress candy.
I've never had them frozen. I dry age them. I open the pack and let them dry age because it gets, the texture gets better.
The good film. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just try frozen. They just slow you down a little bit.
They slow you down or they
Because
break you.
I will eat so many gummy bears, I'll get sick.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Popcorn? Like a thing and eat food?
Whatever.
Yeah. Popcorn or pirate's booty.
That stuff can go down pretty quick.
It's like literally like packing peanuts covered in cheese. So good.
Do you want to know what's funny? Brian Voltaggio, if you really want to mess with the dude, he hates Cheetos. I think I'm going to send him a box just filled with Cheetos.
Why not? April Fool's early.
Every day. But they're pretty much the same thing. It's packing peanuts
They're all
covered
the same.
Covered
But
in
it's
cheese.
that white cheddar.
That white cheddar's
They
good.
just like dissolve. So good.
What would be your last meal?
I think I know what Alex said. I can't remember his. But what's my last meal? I'm going to pick like 3. I'm a salad person. I'm so boring. I want like a really salty Greek salad and a huge bowl of spaghetti with a perfect tomato sauce, tons of fresh basil leaves, and an obnoxious amount of cheese, and then chocolate mousse.
Nice.
And 2 dozen oysters.
And 2 dozen oysters.
And 2 dozen oysters. Somewhere in there. And maybe a nice piece of époisse.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
It's kind of random all over. It doesn't matter of the order, I'm assuming. But
No, just give it at me.
if people want to find you on Instagram, since you're in charge of all of them, what would that be?
You could find me at Stay Hungry with 2 E's. I feel like I should probably change that. That was like a food blog I had in high school. And Her Place Supper Club on Instagram.
There you have it, folks. Definitely, when you are headed to Philly, this is a must go. If you can get in, you got to reach out, make a reservation, be appropriate. Don't just show up at the door knocking. You might not be able to get in.
Yeah,
So
we're small.
it's a pretty special place, guys. And she's cooking really beautiful food. So make the effort, make the time, and head on over. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's absolute joy having you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I can hear some mumbling in the back from somebody who needs mama's attention. That's
Always.
Always.
Thanks for listening to How the Sausage is Made. If you've liked what you've heard today, please make sure to like and subscribe. And don't be afraid to tell your friends about it.